So when we're looking at these strategic models, these are there to help us understand ourselves, our own strategy, but also identify opportunities. So when we think about um, information systems strategy, you can think of it in similar ways, but general managers cannot rely just on the ITIS faculty. I say faculty. You're not at a university, but the personnel, the employees to make IT decisions. So we've got to rely on employees in that have knowledge about procurement to be involved in IT decisions related to the software we use for procurement and purchasing. So we have lots of excellent IT managers, but a good IT manager, a good general manager, they both know that they need the expertise in that that business unit, that business area, to make the right decisions regarding vendors and purchasing. So we look at the balance of strategies between business strategy and IT strategy. Uh, and that's one of the reasons why we've got to have this coordination, because oftentimes IT departments act very independent of the business. So they have expertise, they have knowledge about the good products, the good software that it's out there. But just because they can buy good software, just because the software is good, doesn't mean that it's a fit for the organization. It doesn't mean that it supports the business strategy for the organization. So how independent is the IT department in your organization? We'll call it the IT department, the IT organization. Many organizations, it can either be very centralized or decentralized. So when looking at generic strategies approach versus a dynamic environment approach, so the idea with generic strategies, firms can achieve a competitive advantage through either one of these strategies, cost leadership differentiation, or a cost focus or differentiation focus. For information systems, though, when strategy is chosen by a firm, we've got to have information systems that's critical to complement the strategy. So if it's related to differentiation, we've got to make sure that we support that. If the differentiation involves the customer service, then we've got to have systems in place that support customer service. That mean we have a central database, a central system that tracks any customer calls, so that when anyone else gets a call from the same customer, they're able to easily see the customer history and understand um, how many times they've had to call to resolve a problem. That we'll be able to track problems from the customers. So you have just like an IT help desk, but a customer help desk for some type of problem, a service problem. What is the time? We'll often use it in terms of tickets. How long has that ticket been open and unresolved? So, there are metrics related to those. Each of those call centers, help desks, uh, that we want to target. We want to reduce the time for which a problem is resolved. We want to make that as short as possible. The dynamics environment strategies. We've talked about lots of things and the different approaches, but speed, agility, aggressive moves, and counter moves can help create a competitive advantage. So it's not just a single move, it's being able to be organizationally agile, so having the processes in place so that you can easily reallocate funds and people and move toward a different project when an opportunity presents itself. related to information systems, the dynamic environment, we're talking about how information systems are critical to achieve speed for those moves and counter moves. So do we have the data warehouse in place? Do we have the technology to get close to real-time feedback from our retail locations, if you're like Zara's? So getting that from the point of sale or the or from general managers. So information systems are also in a constant state of flux or development. Just because an enterprise system, an ERP system, has been implemented, it doesn't mean that it is fully implemented. It may be it's been installed and it's in use, but over time we're going to continue to grow into the system and continue to learn more features about the system. Another thing that you've probably read about quite a bit is building a social business strategy. So that's often uh, part of a many business strategies today is your social business strategy. And this is something that IT doesn't always do very well. So we don't really know too much about it. We're like, well, that's not really IT. Well, it may not be uh, it is IT, but it's not IT. It's marketing, it's customer service, but making sure that it's in place. Your social business strategy is in place. So how are you responding to negative comments about your product on Twitter? How are you respond? What type of products or promotions do you offer via your product or your company's app, your Android and iPhone app? So IT's got to be involved in that, but that you can see this is a very cross-functional um, decision-making process, because IT has to help to support it and make some of the decisions to help understand what's needed, but it's usually in marketing and PR and our sales office related to social business strategy. So we've got to support this. So that's a common and still I would say fairly unresolved issue in many organizations, is how to support a social strategy. We we also have the social strategy in terms of collaboration with our employees as well as our stakeholders. So we talked about Twitter and social media, but collaboration, making it easy for employees, breaking down those walls, and employees to provide suggestions to easily communicate with each other. Engagement, so using social IT to engage both your employees and your customers and your vendors. So a lot of that is related to you want to provide a deeper connection with your customers, allow them to, if they really want to engage and discuss your product on Facebook, then you should have the opportunity for them to do so. And this is definitely related to how we're trying to brand the product or company. And then we're looking at innovation. I also talked about that this related to collaboration, where we were looking for ideas. So offering suggestions for improving something within the organization, or it could be product suggestions, etc. So this could be useful, and you can you vote for their favorite idea. There's also online communities or knowledge base centers. Many, especially IT companies, often have their own internal social network where people can post content about their jobs, or even questions about something. Maybe it's a question about the ERP system, a question about the certain product, and then you give rewards for people who contribute the most to those discussion forums. Many companies like SAP actually will open that up to their developers as well, and their SAP partners. so they can actually, it's not just SAP employees in there in this knowledge base, it's also their customers, their partners, so the consultants that are actually doing a lot of the implementations will be in there too, and they can ask questions. And it's actually pretty impressive, the ability to engage answers. So you're able to find answers that may not actually be in um, the technical notes for the software. So we talked a lot about applications of social IT, Facebook, Twitter. Uh, don't disregard this as something that's a fad. You've got to start somewhere if you haven't already done that. So Facebook, Twitter, blogs. If you're not doing it, it's likely someone else. The people are talking about your organization, your product, even though you're not there. So pretending that these these social avenues don't exist is not a useful one. So I encourage you to play around with Twitter, with Facebook, and they're very different, and it's something you have to learn. So it is they're very different communities, and you have to learn how to use them. So I encourage you, if you don't have a Twitter account, that you create a Twitter account and see what people are doing and discussing and how they're using it. People use it in many different ways, but you don't have to. You can be on Twitter without having to post anything. So you can create a Twitter account just to follow people and see what it's about. We've talked a lot about information system strategy and how it should be aligned with the business strategy, but also we showed in that information systems strategy triangle, that organizational strategy is there too. The organizational strategy, we're talking about work processes. So the organization's design, what type of structure do we have? Do we have a flat organization? Do we have a hierarchical organization? What type of processes do we have in place? How electronic or paper-based are things? In the idea for the organizational strategy, the thing with information it is closely tied to information systems, because many of those work processes are entirely part of information systems, or closely connected to information systems. So those two should also be aligned, the organizational and information system strategy. And this is the business diamond, which Harold Levitt introduced as the critical components of an organization's plan. So we're looking at organizational strategy. So it's business processes, it's tasks and structures, management and measurement systems, its values and beliefs. So this is another one of those frameworks. So but this time we're looking at organizational strategy, so within the firm. Another framework at which to look at organizational strategy or design is the managerial levers. So this framework, we're looking at a business's organizational strategy as a combination of organizational, control, and cultural variables. So organizational variables, we're looking at decision rights, business processes. When I say decision rights, who makes the decision, who's given the ability to make the decision, and sometimes it's surprising who makes important decisions in reality in an organization. What's the formal reporting structure and relationships, but what are, like I said before, the informal networks that occur in all organizations that often are the ways that a lot of work gets done, through informal networks between different departments. You may not formally report to someone in this other department, another business unit, but you have a relationship with them that allows you to do your job and much more efficiently. Control variables, these are important in terms of how available is data, what is the nature and quality of planning in the organization, how effective are we in measuring performance, um, and do we have systems that allow us to perform, that allow us to track that? And do we have incentives to do good work? So those are some of the control variables that can help. Cultural variables as well, so our values. So here we have the managerial levers uh, a framework. In the center, you can see there are people, information, and technology. So this is how we're aligning our organizational strategy to our information system strategy or IT strategy. So that's even though they were on the same level of the information system strategy triangle, organizational and ITIS strategy is also an important area that should where we should find alignment. So if you don't have data, if you know, let's say you're uh, the uh, the top managers of the organization ask you to make data-driven decisions, which is something that we find more and more, and it's very common, and I think is definitely has a place. So making decision based on data rather than, oh, I think this is an example. Uh, so I think we should totally change the mission of the organization based on a single example. So using data can and should be used and should be powerful, but do you have systems in place that allow you to that actually collect the data that is needed, that allow you to, in a timely manner, extract the data as you know in a query or report or import into an Excel file and a pivot table so that you can report and perform the analysis or have someone perform the analysis that will give you the information that's needed. So that's one really important question. Then the other is decision rights. So there may be differences in decision rights that are within the system and outside of the system. So if if our sales staff shouldn't have access to um, credit reports for credit information for our customers, then they shouldn't have it in the system as well. So if do they have it in practice? Do they have it in the system? So there shouldn't be a misalignment there as well. And that often happens in companies where you have wide access, so lots of people have access to do many different things within the system until a problem occurs, and then all access is taken away. So this is a managerial levers. So these are some of the different organizational controls or cultural um, variables within an organization. So how do we assess our organization's use of IT or IS as a way to help us understand our organizational strategy? So some of these questions can be useful. What are the important structures in supporting or reporting relationships in the organization? Who holds the decision rights to critical decisions? What are the important people-based networks, both social and informational? So it might be who are the groups of friends that get together for lunch that might be in different departments, and how can we use them to get work done better? What are the characteristics, experiences, and skill levels of the people within the organization? What are the key business processes? What control systems are in place, and what are the culture, values, and beliefs of the organization? So that's assessing our organization's use of IT, IS within the realm of organizational strategy. So we looked at business diamond and managerial levers. And I'll already looked at some of those examples, but you're welcome to go back to figure 1.7 if you'd like to refer to that. When we're looking at IS strategy, we're talking about the plan that an organization uses to provide information services. Information systems allows a company to implement its business strategy. That's what should be taking place, but not always taking place in a company. But business strategy, think of it as a function of competition. So what does the customer want? What does the competition do? Our positioning. So in what way does our firm want to compete? And the capabilities of the firm. So what can we do? So information systems can definitely help determine the company's capabilities. So one IS strategy matrix that can be useful, we're looking at some categories such as hardware, software, networking, and data. And then we look at the what, who, and the where. So you can see these are just an understanding of what we do. So what? So what's the list of physical components of the system? What software is there? Who uses the hardware? Who uses the software, the networking, the data? Where is that? Where is it located? So this is one of many strategy matrices that we will I'll take a look at. In the next module, we'll look at information resources and the strategic use of information resources. So, and that's really closely tied to our capabilities, our IT capabilities, as well as some of these things, our IT assets. So these will actually be defined as IT assets and capabilities. So each of these, again, going back to the information system strategy triangle, we have the business strategy that should drive the organizational and IS strategy. And all three should be aligned, but we're really focusing on how IS strategy should be aligned to the business strategy and how IS strategy should be aligned to the organizational strategy. Again, if you have any questions, please post those questions in the discussion forum of the course. And you're welcome to ask other questions, but especially regarding this reading and the lecture.